Kia ora team. Today I'm going to speak to you about sexual identity. So we're looking at who you are, your values around sex, and who you're attracted to. And we'll also discuss how society's ideas are changing over time. So you might have heard of it, you might not have, but at the moment there is a real movement towards sort of legalizing gay marriage and for the lesbian, gay, bi community to stand up and be counted. Okay, so you might have seen posters such as equal people, equal rights, equal love. You might have heard Macklemore's singing Same Love, the song about same-sex marriage, or you might have heard of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender community. Okay, if you rewind 20 years ago, none of this was really about. Okay, so if you showed something that was different to what society thought you should with sexual orientation, you either hid it away or you were ridiculed by society. That's a real shame because it's not a good thing, and it leads to mental health issues and all those bad things coming along with that. But we're very lucky that we live in a day and age where these ideas are constantly changing, and we understand that people's sexual orientation can be different to ours, and that's not a negative thing. Okay. So what we're going to do is go through some terms, some key terms here. So sexual orientation, we've talked a little bit about that. Sexual behavior, sexual identity, heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual, intersex, asexual, transgender, heterosexism, and homophobia. Okay, so I'm going to give you some definitions for these terms, and you're going to try to learn them because you'll need them for your Google form. So what do they mean? Sexual orientation refers to sex or genders of people that an individually is sexually or emotionally attracted to. Okay, so that's with your own sexual orientation, that is the person or people that you are sexually or emotionally attracted to. Your sexual behavior is our sexual actions or contacts when we do come into contact with those people. So what are your actions and what are your contacts? What do you do? How do you behave when you are with them? Sexual identity refers to how people view themselves sexually. Heterosexual, someone who is attracted to the opposite sex. Okay, so remember we talked about sort of 20 years ago, this is what society thought was the norm, and we're understanding that now that is not always the norm. Homosexual is someone who is attracted to the same sex. Okay, so hetero is opposite, homo is same sex. Transgender, someone whose gender identity is different to their assigned sex at birth. Okay, so someone that is maybe born a female, but in their mind they think they're a male. Often these people will get a sex change and change their reproductive organs. Homophobia, so this is something that we're trying to stamp out. So fear and prejudice or negative belief about or directed towards homosexual people. Okay, so again, 20 years ago, homophobia was a huge thing. People didn't understand it, so that's why they showed that fear or prejudice. But we know now that everyone's sexual identity is different, so this is something that we're trying to stamp out. Intersex is someone born with the anatomy that doesn't fit in a typical male and female characteristics. Okay, so obviously the male having the penis and the female having the vagina. Asexual, a person who has no sexual feelings or desires. Okay, so someone that in terms of sexuality, isn't attracted to guys or girls or anything else. They just don't want to do that sort of stuff. Heterosexism is the assumption that everyone is or should be heterosexual. Okay, so remember we talked about heterosexual, and that is different sexes in the relationship. And bisexual is someone who is attracted to both sexes. Okay, so male or female, and they're attracted to both sexes. So these terms are, you've probably heard of them more and more, the more we sort of progress as society, but they are becoming the norm because now hopefully we're understanding that everyone's sexual identity is not the same. Right, guys, what you need to do is make sure that you know those terms to fill out your Google form. Okay, so there's 8 questions there and try to get 8 out of 8. You're looking at the terms that we've just been through. And then after that, there is a movie for you to watch. And it's a bit of a different one. Okay, so in this movie, it's asking you some questions. What would happen if society's ideas were flipped and homosexual relationships, so same-sex relationships were the norm, and heterosexual relationships were different or weird? Okay, and there's some questions to fill out with that. Thanks for listening, guys. Hope you learned something.